How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be discussing something that I actually get asked like numerous times on a day-to-day basis, and that is, will there be a Star Wars Battlefront 3? As like I said, I get asked this question all the time, so I thought I'd bring it into video form as it's not as simple as a yes or no answer. And there is genuinely a lot to talk about surrounding this topic. Now, if you guys are enjoying these bigger videos, then be sure to drop a like on this video here and let me know in the comments below, do you want Battlefront 2 to continue on for a few more years, or do you want a Battlefront 3? I'll put a poll in the top right corner as well for you guys to vote. But now, no messing around, we're just going to get straight into this. Now, for those of you who do not know, there is supposed to be a new Star Wars game coming either in 2022 or late 2021. Now, we don't know as of yet exactly what this game is supposed to be, as this was revealed before the success of Jedi Fallen Order. So given that game's success, the possibility of more games coming in that time frame is likely. But regardless, a lot of people are beginning the rumors that this could potentially be Star Wars Battlefront 3. Now, the idea of getting another Battlefront game is definitely one that does spark a fair bit of debate, because some people think that Battlefront 2 is the game that should carry this franchise forward with ongoing live support, and I definitely understand why people feel that way. Battlefront 2 has seemingly peaked in terms of graphics and does have the majority of mainstream Star Wars content in the game. So it makes sense to build off of that until we have a game reminiscent of the original Battlefront 2, at least from a content perspective anyway. But there are a lot of people out there that kind of want a fresh start for the franchise with a third installment, because let's be real, Battlefront 2's past, it still haunts it to this day. And there are still a lot of people out there for some reason that think Battlefront 2 is still pay to win and that it's just a game surrounded in controversy, or that it's just dead. The only people who seemingly know the status of Battlefront 2, the true status of Battlefront 2, are obviously the players. So I certainly do understand why half of people want Battlefront 3 to become a reality for a fresh start, so the Battlefront franchise can sort of begin to distance itself a little bit from the outdated criticism of Battlefront 2. So I mean, I completely understand both sides of the story here, but I probably do lean more on the side of starting fresh with a Battlefront 3. I think that given Battlefront 2's latest resurgence, it does give EA and DICE the opportunity to get it right from the beginning next time. And not to just, be left to clean up the remnants of a terrible launch like what happened with Battlefront 2. So the idea of a new Battlefront game does appeal to me personally, but that does raise the questions as to whether or not Battlefront 3 would actually be worthwhile doing when it comes to new content. Seeing as Battlefront 2, at its current state, has actually covered a lot of the mainstream content. So for starters, I think if Battlefront 3 is going to happen, it needs to have a kick-ass campaign and, none of that play from the perspective of the Empire and then turn to the Rebellion 3 missions later crap. I mean a good single-player Star Wars story with interesting gameplay. So pretty much the opposite of the Battlefront 2 campaign. We could explore more of the Jedi journeys in the Clone Wars or venture more into the unknown or unexplored times of the Star Wars timeline. Whatever it is, it has to alter itself from what Battlefront 2's campaign structure was. Now granted, the Battlefront 2 campaign, I've probably been a little bit too harsh on it. It wasn't that bad. It did destroy its interesting premise almost instantly, and the gameplay was very repetitive and uninspired. But the cutscenes were top notch, and it gave us some interesting insight into the Battle of Jakku and the galaxy during and after Return of the Jedi. So I mean, a major selling point could be the single player campaign part of Battlefront 3. We've had a kick-ass single player Star Wars game under EA in Jedi Fallen Order, so that's going to fill people with confidence in the next Star Wars single player experience we see. Now, DICE obviously did not create Jedi Fallen Order, I know that, but it's all under the EA umbrella at the end of the day. But now moving on to the multiplayer side of things, actual space-to-ground combat like the old Battlefront games is going to be a must if we do end up seeing a Battlefront 3. Capital Supremacy was the rumoured space-to-ground game mode for Battlefront 2, but it's not really space-to-ground at all. It's kind of like ground-to-air cutscene battles. So if Battlefront 3 comes out, I would expect space-to-ground battles running on the graphics and power of next-gen consoles to be a major selling point. The current consoles are struggling a little bit running a game like Battlefront 2 with the current graphics on display. So like I said, the new next generation consoles are going to open up possibilities for the Battlefront franchise, and I really do think that a Battlefront 3 release on next gen consoles is an absolute must, and I actually think it's definitely going to happen. Because I mean, the sky would be the limit, and given the new possibilities, it could leave Battlefront 2 for dead in terms of potential. Now, something else I want to talk about in this video is that Battlefront 2 currently has 20 heroes with another 2 to be added in January. So out of those 22 heroes, most of the mainstream Star Wars characters are in the game, so we could expect nothing less than to have every single one of them in Battlefront 3. Even though basically half the hero roster from Battlefront 2015 didn't actually make it to Battlefront 2, with Jyn Erso, Krennic, Greedo, Nine Num and Dengar not making the cut somehow. Honestly, I could not believe that all of these characters weren't in Battlefront 2 at launch, and still none of them are in the game now. Now, touching on content from Battlefront 2015 not coming to Battlefront 2, I think all of it should have, in my opinion. Like, I think we can all agree that Battlefront 2 would feel like a massive game if we had at least 90% of Battlefront 2015's content in the game. Now, on top of Battlefront 2's existing hero roster, there are still a ton of new characters that could be added to Battlefront 3 to get people interested in the game. I'm going to list off a ton of them now, like we still have the likes of Mace Windu, Ahsoka Tano, Poe Dameron, Padme, The Mandalorian, Kira, Dryden Voss, Asajj Ventress, Savage Opress, Tarkin, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Jango Fett. Like, there's so many there. Plus the 5 heroes from Battlefront 2015 that never made it to Battlefront 2, so there are no shortage of hero ideas for Battlefront 3. And given that heroes are a big deal with Battlefront games, this would be a massive selling point and would more than justify a new Battlefront game. Because I do know that that's one problem a lot of people do have, they feel like a Battlefront 3 wouldn't be worthwhile. But I mean, seeing Mace Windu pop up in trailers would have everyone ready to buy the game. And also something else worth keeping in mind is that Kathleen Kennedy did mention that Disney are looking into the Old Republic. So by the time Battlefront 3 is ready to come out, then imagine if we got Old Republic content in Battlefront 3. The Old Republic seems to be something Star Wars fans universally want to see the most, and if it does come into a new Star Wars game, then you can bet that people are going to be hyped as well for a new Battlefront 3. So again, that would further justify Battlefront 3's existence because people would want it and people will buy it. Now, there is always the chance that this game that is supposedly coming at the end of 2021 or 2022 could be something else entirely. So not a Battlefront 3 game, probably not even a Jedi Fallen Order sequel. It could literally be anything. Personally, I'm kind of torn between wanting a Battlefront 3 and an open world Star Wars game. Whether it's set in the Old Republic era, if that's something Disney do end up exploring, or the Clone Wars era. Whatever it is, I think it's an exciting prospect. Now, the Battlefront franchise can be a massive cash cow for EA if they do handle Battlefront 3's release right. Now, we all know that they haven't really done that so far, so Battlefront 3 could be the perfect opportunity to get started with that. Or, given Jedi Fallen Order's success, we could start seeing a ton more single-player Star Wars games in place of what would be a new Battlefront game. Either way, as Star Wars fans and gamers, I think it's a win-win situation for us. If we don't get Battlefront 3, we're probably going to get more games reminiscent of Jedi Fallen Order. But if we don't get that, then we're probably going to get Battlefront 3. So I mean, whatever ends up happening with all of it, I just can't wait to see how things evolve personally. The Star Wars universe has so much potential that it's honestly kind of ridiculous. There is literally no shortage of content ideas for a Battlefront game. Or if they want to go the single player route, there's plenty of stories to tell across all eras of Star Wars that could equally be as engaging. But yeah, as for Battlefront 3, if it does happen, which I personally think it's only a matter of time before something gets announced, I honestly think that the goal for that game should be to get the game as much like the original Battlefront 2 as possible. With the massive hero roster, space to ground battles, tons of game modes and planets from all corners of the constantly expanding Star Wars universe. Like, if you go back and look at just the sheer amount of maps on offer in the original Battlefront 2, it's kind of crazy to think that this was way back in 2005, that this sort of stuff was on offer to us. We had planets like Megiddo to Mustafar to Coruscant. The map selection was insane. Like, even Dagobah was even in the original Battlefront 2, so if Battlefront 3 does happen, it is 100% going to have maps like the ones I just mentioned. Battlefront 2 did cut a lot of corners when it came to its content, and it's still happening to this day, even though the game has turned around. And if Battlefront 3 does happen, then there is no way that they can cut corners with it, because they're going to have to go all out if they do want to make the game a massive success. They can't half-ass it. They've got to go all in and make it the ultimate Battlefront game, or it's just going to be another Battlefront game that doesn't live up to the original Battlefront 2. Now, it also might be worth keeping in mind that Star Wars Battlefront 3, if it gets announced, will certainly be a next generation release. It's going to have to rebuild most things from the ground up, so the game might take a fair bit of work before we even get to see any form of confirmation for a new Battlefront game. So as for whether or not we will see a Battlefront 3, I believe we will in the next few years, with an announcement coming no earlier than 2021. Like I said, that's just what I believe. So for those of you who are thinking that we might get an announcement really soon, I think the chances of that happening are beyond slim to none. By some miracle it does, I will happily eat my own words and be proven wrong. So guys, what do you all think of this? Do you want to see a Battlefront 3, or do you want Battlefront 2 to just keep its live service going? Or hell, do you not even want a Battlefront game and want something else entirely? Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, I personally think Battlefront 3 should happen sooner rather than later, but we're entirely up to the mercy of EA and Disney. So hopefully that Star Wars game that's coming in a couple years time is either Battlefront 3 or a banger of a single player Star Wars game. But yeah guys, that's pretty much just going to wrap it up for this video, so thank you all for watching. Be sure to drop a like if you did enjoy, as it does help out the channel a great deal, and consider subscribing to the channel if you are new. So until next time, thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.